Welcome back to 321 Backlog, the podcast where two Blizzard WoW bros are on a mission to count down their video game backlogs. My name is Alec, and I am joined by James, but also...
Good day.
Oh, you calm down, sir.
All right.
We're also joined by the host of Smashing Game Time, Josh and Nick. Gentlemen, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us. Hey, as James said, good day.
Man, I've been very excited to have you guys on. I selfishly, and I've said this with the last couple of guests I have, I want to get more guests on. I want to see what real podcasting is like. And you guys were so gracious having us on, and I just wanted to have you on to get that conversation going again. And I've been super excited. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we loved having you on a few weeks back. You guys brought a great energy. I think you guys were actually the first time we had two guests on at the same time. And it definitely kicks you in the rear after not having guests for so long, where you're like, oh shit, like there are other people out here doing this that aren't like, you know, the people everybody knows. And it's kind of like, it creates like that community almost.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying to like edit and manage 4 voices, which I'm just super excited about. So yeah, we are talking today. You guys actually picked a game for us. We wanted to extend what James and I do, where we try to like alternate what games we bring. So we had y'all pick, and we came up with What Remains of Edith, Finch.
High energy, absolute banger of a game. Super good.
So good.
Yeah, high energy game. I'm really excited to talk about it. Like
uplifting.
Very uplifting start of the summer.
Yeah. I've never had
a good game.
I've never suggested a game to my wife and then her get like actually upset with me after she played it.
Oh no!
So it was a real good time.
I'm glad to hear that, because I was thinking about recommending it to my wife, and now I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should hold off on this.
So we're going to go ahead and run through some of the... our format's changed.
You fool.
We do this all the time here. You fool. We're going to go through... We have 2 segments. We kind of bounce back and forth on which one we do first, but we're going to do our backlog builders and what we've been playing. So why don't we do our backlog builders, since this is a backlog podcast, and let's toss it over to our guests here. Let's start with Nick. Nick, how have you been building out your backlog?
So it's kind of been a mix of just what I can find on Game Pass and what I'm reviewing. I know I have Ghostwire Tokyo written down here. That comes as a result of the Tango Gameworks announcement from a few weeks back with Microsoft shutting them down. I remember when that game came out, I was very like lukewarm on it. Like, it just kind of looks like Ghost Japan Naruto. You got all the finger stuff going on. I wasn't feeling it. And now that I've come out on the other side, I loved Hi-Fi Rush. It was one of my favorite games in 2023. I kind of want to go back and see how much I was hating on it and how much that wasn't warranted. I've got another one that I didn't list here that I actually just got the code for. And by the time this is out, this will be fine for me to say this. I've got a code for Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, shit.
The game.
There we go.
I'm doing that with the guys over at Hard Drive. Every once in a while, I'm on a column over there where we're playing games that aren't out yet and kind of writing what we think, like basically a preview. It's a preview column. And I'm excited about that. That's like the first one of the, those like horror movie games that come out where it's like 1v however many. I think this one's a little more balanced. I think it's a 5v5 or a 5v6. I'm excited to jump in and be one of those aliens. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is probably one of my favorite like B horror movies from the 80s.
Right.
That was a childhood movie of mine for sure.
I remember being terrified. Like I remember the bubblegum hives. Like just the imagery of someone being all bloodied up in one of those.
Cotton candy, right?
Haunted. Yeah, cotton candy, not bubblegum.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. Other than that, no, I played that, so it's not technically in my backlog. Those are really the two. I mean, I want to play Animal Well, but I'm not buying Animal Well right now, so I've just got so much going on.
Right on. Josh, what have you been building that backlog recently?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I hit a sale on one of my sites that I frequent. Picked up a handful of them. Picked up My Friendly Neighbor. That's the Muppets meets BioShock.
Okay.
Yeah, you heard that right,
Sounds
guys.
weird.
Muppets meets BioShock. So basically, you're going around killing a bunch of Muppets.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love the, like, I feel like a lot of games that have weird mashups do really well.
It's like the premise, you're like, okay, like you're interested enough to at least look into it. You're like, okay. I remember seeing the video when they released the alpha of it. And I was like, okay, this looks like my kind of game. And I watched, I think it was Markiplier play the demo of it. And I'm like, okay, that's on my list. And I found it for like, I think it was like $3. I'm like, yeah, we're buying this. It looks so good. I'm ready to kill some Muppets.
Awesome.
Also, at that same sale, I picked up Eldest Souls. It's a over-the-top, what do they call them, basically? Dark Souls meets roguelike, basically.
Okay.
More of like a medieval fantasy. I think it's hand-drawn. It looks really good. I saw it and I was like, you know what? I want like a roguelike Metroidvania. I've been really getting into my Metroidvanias lately, which also picked up my next one, 9 Years of Shadow. I remember Nick actually reviewed it. At the time, he was like, he liked it, but he was like lukewarm with it at the time. But I'm like, you know what? It looked good. It's a Metroidvania. My childhood is filled with nothing but Super Metroid. I think that's like the game I have the most hours in. So I'm like, yeah, this is my cup of tea.
That looks like that game, the Jotun game that we played a couple of years ago. The art style of it looks extremely similar. It's very hand-drawn and kind of like pastel-y looking. Looks cool.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It's a beautiful art style, but I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it completely drops its premise. It completely drops its premise at the start of the game. It's like, why am I playing this? Well, you hooked me on the premise, and the premise isn't even a thing right now.
See, that's okay with me because once they've explained what's going on, as long as the gameplay is decent, I'm not one too much to think into it. I'm like, yeah, I just want to be able to go around. I want to be able to, if I can speed run it right off the bat, like find ways to get around something you're not supposed to until you get a certain ability or do a certain thing. I'm already in like La La Land.
Let me know how many times it crashes for you.
Oh, I will. I'll let you know.
I don't do very many Metroidvanias and stuff like that. Just the ones we've covered here, but just right off the bat, it just from like a very abstract, like I can't. The word escapes me, but it's giving me vibes of Owl Boy a little bit, and just like the presentation and like sprite movements and stuff like that.
AF.
Yeah.
I said it almost kind of.
Yeah, I see that too.
Yeah, I always said it kind of reminds me a little bit of like a little more pixelated Blasphemous almost.
Yeah.
Right on. What I really liked about it, I'll say one more thing and then I'll shut up about 9 Years of Shadow. I really liked that it went more towards the Metroidvania side of things and less towards the Dead Cell side of things or the Dark Souls side of things. I think too many of those games like want to be Metroidvanias but are actually roguelikes, and it drives me nuts.
Exceedingly difficult, or what is that?
When I think of a Metroidvania, I want to have like one set, like here's the map. If you die, you die, and you revert back to the save. There's just too many times where I'm getting you died, now you're starting a new run. It's like I don't want to do runs. I just
Ori and the Blind Forest if you haven't played it.
Oh, I love it. I still need to play Will o' the Wisp, but I loved that first one when it came out like 10 years.
Yeah, it was good.
10 years?
Super good. I don't know, man. We just played it, so it's very recent to me. Alec, what have you been playing, brother? Or what did you add to your backlog, I guess is the right question.
I added, so mine's a quick one.
Yeah.
We're moving soon, so we're trying to, I whenever we see those sales, I gotta block my eyes as best I can. But I did have, I don't know how everybody else feels about these, but board games in digital form.
Don't like it.
Some work really well. It's some of those games like Catan and other ones just get really like complicated with what you have to track on board and everything. And I found one called Wingspan that has been on my wife and I's list to put in the game closet, but I found a digital version, so I grabbed that. And I haven't gotten the chance to play it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So that's a quick list for me. That's all.
It's a video game board game about birds.
Yes, it's a fantastic board game.
I don't want to get any, but like I don't want to spoil
Don't
anything
ruffle
for
some
anyone.
feathers. Say
I
it.
don't want to ruffle any feathers, but they just put out a new version of the board game. I think it's called Wyvern Span, and it's the same game but for dragons and Is it wyverns? Josh, what's that word?
Wyverns.
I mean,
Wyvern?
yeah.
I don't
Wyverns?
know.
I mean, at this point, you're already being ridiculed
yeah.
online, so just take the L. And go
But
with it.
I shut up. I really enjoy Wingspan. I think that's Stonemaier game. So they did the Scythe game right behind me. Yeah, they put out a lot of really good games. And I think Wingspan came out in the middle of COVID.
Mhm.
Haven't played it at all, but like the few times I've watched someone play it, I'm like, oh, I could play this.
Yeah, I think we passed it in Target one day or something.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was on the list of things we wanted to play, but I found it. It was like, I don't know, $10 or something. So I was like, let me grab it. So looking forward to playing
Well,
that.
I like birds, so it looks like a fun game to me.
I
There you go.
birds.
It's really cool.
I like
I don't know how
birds.
the digital part of it works, but with the board game itself, even when like you pull out the bird cards to be able to play them, there's actually like a little code if you can download the app where you scan the card, it'll actually play the sound of what they make.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's very and it's beautifully drawn too. So it looks fantastic. It's a fun game to play with the family, friends. I mean, I've played it nonstop with friends. It's like our go-to game.
The artwork looks really, really good. Because it's from what I can tell, they did use a lot of the art from the physical edition, but they went as far as to give little motions to the birds. So I've seen like AI tricks and things where if the bird's already outstretched, it'll move them a little bit, just to add some animation to
That's
it.
so cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
Make sure to download the Merlin Bird ID app on your phone prior to playing, so that way you can hear the sounds of you.
just to check it for accuracy.
Yeah.
All right, Jimothy James, what have you added to your backlog?
I got Ghosts of Tsunami, Spiritfarer, and I don't even know how to say Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII R word. I don't reunion, remake, revival, whatever.
Ghost of Tsunami or
Tsushima, yeah. So yeah, I got it on PC because I just got this fancy new PC and it just came out. So I really want to see how it looks on PC and PS5.
Didn't I send you?
You did
a copy of it?
Yeah. I just want to see it on. I want to see it on the computer. I just want to see it. It looks amazing. I wanted to see how well my PC runs that game, and then a friend of mine also got it, and he's running at like 120 frames or something, or 144 locked. But I wanted to see like what how they compare, because his is a little bit newer than mine, even better stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's a really fun game.
It seems fun. Like I played like the first 15 or 20 minutes of it and got my sword back, and then had to stop playing it. But yeah. And then I got Spiritfarer, which I feel like you would like a lot, Alec. It's kind of you're the boatman of death. Like you're the person that brings people to the afterlife. But there's like a little bit of like a management aspect of it, and you learn the stories of the different inhabitants of the boat that you have. They spend a little bit of time there. You get to learn about like, I don't know, their life story and everything like that. Actually ended up getting it for my wife, but I'm gonna probably end up playing it as well. So maybe one day we could do that. I feel like it'd be one that you would enjoy.
Oh yeah, this is right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a little cozy game about death.
Yeah,
That's literally,
dude.
I think that's what it says on the back of the game box. It's like, this is a cozy game about death.
So good.
So yeah,
right on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the Final Fantasy one. I want to play that one because I finished the Final Fantasy VII remake. I want to play the Crisis Core one before playing the second part, whatever the fuck that one's called.
Rebirth.
Thank you. Sure, yes. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Retrograde.
I still need to play Final Fantasy VII.
The original.
Full stop.
Cool.
I think I have like 20 copies of it on Steam. You could just borrow one, pick it from the library.
I came in so late. My first one was 10. And then I played 10 and 10-2, and that was it.
Yeah, that was a really good one, man.
Yeah. Right on. So I think that's going to take us over to what we've been playing. So why don't we go, do you want to go in reverse order? James, you want to hit us up with what you've been playing?
Yeah, sure. So I'll say I was playing Vampire Survivors a lot. I started kind of like dipping my wiener into a couple of the other similar type of games, like the bullet hell style games, because I've gotten a couple of them. So I wanted to just see if they're as good. I feel like in my experience, Vampire Survivors has done it the best out of them. Also, we watched Fallout on Amazon. So I got Fallout 4 and have been playing that. Actually, kind of funny. Our friend Ryan and your brother, I think, is starting to get into it as well. So we've all kind of been discussing our experience with it. Ryan's first thing he did was just mod infinite ammo. He's like, I just want to enjoy this. I'm tired of scrounging for bullets. So yeah, that was that. And then obviously we've been playing the WoW retail a little bit. Sure, Alec. We've been playing, yeah.
Your
our
favorite
whole group of you want me to play the Fox character?
You gotta be
weirdo.
You just.
But yeah, we've all been that's been the friend group thing that we've all been doing. Like I feel like we have a set group of friends, and then whatever one of them gets into, we all always migrate into that game, and then one of them quits, and then we all quit eventually. So, just waiting for us to quit that.
And I was just so surprised that WoW took 10 years to get back into the rotation.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't take 10 years to get fucking out, because
that'd be nice. That would be nice. My wallet will thank you.
I know. It should gotta be a way to hack that. Get it for free, dude.
James, you mentioned playing some Vampire Survivor like knockoffs or like some spinoffs. Which were there any like? Which ones have you been playing? 'Cause I've got like one or two that I really like.
Yeah. So. Way to call me out, dude. You think I'm lying? Bone Razor Minions was one that I remember hearing was really good in it. I saw it like on pre-release, so I added it in there. I've played that a little bit. I kind of hate the art style of it. It's too everything's the same color, and I think it's called 20 seconds to die or something like that. Or
20 minutes to dawn. That's one of the ones I've played.
I like
a little
that one
more
a lot.
Cthulhuian or whatever we're calling that.
Because you have to actually
like
aim.
Lovecraftian, there it is. Yeah, you have to actually aim.
Yeah, and I like that a lot because it plays really well on the PC as opposed to playing like with joysticks. Just being able to aim with a mouse feels really good. So it's been fun. I like the music of it and everything too. Like the art style's nice.
It's kind of got like not a Castlevania look to it, but a because all the backgrounds in that one are like just dark, like it's black.
Yeah, it was like a forest. You see a tree once in a while, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And all the enemies are kind of like fluorescent, kind of.
Yep.
It's a beautiful game.
Is it almost like how Blood Rain was back in the day? Like it was always like dark backgrounds with that game.
Well, Blood Rain had that mode that like she went into where it was like her berserk mode, and then so it kind of looks like that, Josh.
Okay.
Do you have any of that style of game that you think is like what's the best one?
I mean, it's Vampire Survivors, but other than 20 Minutes Till Dawn, I think the only other one I've really played is Brotato, just because of the name.
All right, I'll put it on my way. I'll put it on my wish list then.
I think we already have it.
No way.
The beauty of all these is that they're like $3 games. So if like it's a waste, you're like, well, there's $3 fucking.
Oh yeah,
we have Broforce, not Brotato.
Yeah. Close.
Oh, okay.
Close.
You fools, dude.
I think it's a spiritual successor.
You fool.
Oh yeah, Brotato.
What have I been playing? Thanks for asking.
Sorry, I just ran away with that.
Ooh. Oh man, so I put some time in on the Xbox, so I did really just hopped into Game Pass and just took a look at what was on there, and I found Quantum Break, which has been on my list, and gameplay I'm liking, and the cutscenes I'm liking. The live action side of it, for those that know it, little rough.
Skip it. So, you can skip it all.
Well,
just unsubscribe.
My wife and I have a hard time because we both like a lot of the same games, and we try to do things together. So the idea was like, what if I play this out in the living room and we could like kind of watch a show / game and do a communal thing. And I got to the first, what are they called, junctions, and we were both like, when is this going to end? It was rough acting.
Nice.
There was some people that shined through. Like Lance Reddick was in it. He's really good in everything he was in. But there were some other like B-list actors and stuff that were just kind of like the character models they use and stuff. They were a little lacking. It felt a little like film student project, with like a really good budget, I guess. So I've been playing that a little bit, and then I found and played enough to get upset, and then had my son play it, and he did really good with it. Another Crab's Treasure.
What the fuck?
Yes.
It is, dude. It's like a Souls-like, Soulsborne. I forget what the term is, but you're a crab, like in the ocean, and it's it looks hilarious. My son, it's amazing. He's 8 years old. It's amazing how these kids can like pick up on mechanics that we might find challenging with no issue, and he is very good at it right off the bat. So he's been playing it a bit, and it's been some of the jokes go over his head, but it's been fun to watch him play it. And I played a little bit and just got frustrated because I'm really bad with the Souls likes.
Is it supposed to be a really difficult game? It looks like it's meant for little children.
No, right.
I mean, it does.
I think it's average.
It's not one of the most difficult. There's even, I think, if I remember correctly, there's a mode in there where you can actually spawn in a gun as your shell.
Well, there you go.
That's fantastic.
Alec.
I need to play that.
The gun.
Sign him up.
I'm gonna
So the
do
gun,
it.
the gun is a one-hit kill. So it's like, oh, I'm stuck on this boss. All right, I'm just gonna. It's the Indiana
Okay.
Jones scene where he's doing all the, and then he just shoots him.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna start a second playthrough
Perfect.
then. But yeah, I don't know where it falls on like the list of difficulty for those types of games, but I'm just not good at them in general, so it was just difficult for me.
That was developed and published by Aggro Crab, so they have like a theme going on for sure.
Maybe.
They
Sounds like it.
crabs.
All right.
All right, so then that brings us back to Josh. What have you been playing?
I've been going through my backlog, and I've been working on Spyro Reignited. I've already 100%ed the first Spyro. Now I'm on Ripto's Rage. I'm 100% through the whole entire first area. Like I've done, like literally, I'm trying to complete it as I go through. I hate going back and having to do the stuff. Like I already don't have to go back and do the skill points in the game to unlock a couple of the achievements. But I'm like, I'll just get all the collections done right now. So if I have to go back, it's just easy. Go do this task for 2 minutes and then I can leave. So I think
Nice.
altogether, I think I'm only like 40%, 45% through the game. So.
Okay.
We're getting there. And then, of course, I have to do Year of the Dragon, which is my least played one of the three. So I'm going to have to learn that all over again. But my one pet...
Did you get the combo with like the Crash Bandicoot games? Because I know they bundled them a couple years
I ended up
ago.
getting them separately. But I do own both sets.
Does it play the same
Nice.
as it did on PS1? Like, I remember a lot of people were saying Crash handled differently.
I think of the two, Crash played better. Spyro, there's a little couple things that just really finicky with it, and even my biggest pet peeve has been the character design. Spyro looks decent. Like I was telling Nick the other night, I think Spyro looks really good. But then it looked like Hunter or Ripto or I forget the goat girl's name. They all look like they were working on redrawing them from the PS1 era. Someone spilled a drink. They went to go pick it up with something. They were looking for something to pick it up, and their pet monkey at the office decided just to start flinging his shit everywhere, and he threw it all over it. They picked it up, and they said, "That's good enough."
Wow.
That's good enough. Print
I'm looking
it,
at a
send
comparison. I mean, it's definitely better looking than the PS1 version.
It is, but it's just from my memory as a child. I'm like, it just looks awful.
Yeah, your
Even the voice
imagination was
acting
better
sounds
than
bad.
theirs.
Spyro sounds somewhat similar to what he used to sound like, but when
Right.
Hunter starts talking and the goat girl, I'm like, and Ripto even, I'm like, what did they
Yeah.
do? This is not my Spyro.
Ripto on PS1 looked like a carrot.
Yeah.
That's all.
He looked cute.
I've had a really hard time with since doing this podcast of going back to some of the older games that we have so many fond memories of, and since we're in this day and age with God of War and all the Spider-Man games and just the level of these things what gets produced on like a base level now, I feel like I get a lot more harsh to some of those older games, and I have a really hard time enjoying it as much as I used to. So I wonder if that's in the same vein.
I mean, they'll still hold a place in my heart though, because like that's what we grew up on.
Of course, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I went back and played. Like, remember, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Blasto.
No.
Essentially, think Nick. What would you describe it as? It's like it's a
Blasto's
third person.
like a space ghost game but
More comedic.
He's a
That's weird.
womanizer. He's you're saving
looking at it. I've
babes.
seen this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look back at that and I go, oh my God, how did we ever play this game? Because even as a kid, I remember it was a really hard game to play. I don't think I ever beat it.
Who's the space captain from Futurama? The one that's always sexualizing Lisa?
Yes, he's basically Zach Brannigan.
Yep, there it is. It's his own video game.
Okay, I got to play it then.
I mean, like even look back, like I said, I go back and look at it and I'm like, man, between that and then the other one I think of is Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter for the PS2. Those two games always come back to me as the hardest games I've ever played in my life. I've never beat them. Even as an adult, I try to go back and play them, and I'm like, I can't beat them. I don't know if it's because I'm stupid or if because they're just meant to be difficult.
Right.
That was a PS2 game, you said?
One.
Yeah. Okay, it looks very PS2.
And then I've been going back and doing Battlefield 2042 with my little brother Matt, our little brother. Just pretty much playing it with last season being out, and they're not going to be doing any more updates or releases for it since they're working on the next Battlefield, which means I'm assuming at some point this year we're going to get an announcement for the next one.
Our gaming group got, once we went from Halo onto Call of Duty, that's where our gaming group went down that avenue. So I have very little exposure to the Battlefield
Bad Company too
franchise
back in the day.
We played it for a little bit, but I feel like games were coming out so fast.
Xbox 360
felt like
era.
Fast. And I believe when we were playing those, we also were like going outside and skateboarding and shit. So like we had, arguably better priorities, but
that's debatable.
Yeah, but yeah, just the Battlefield just never held on to me very well.
The way I've put it, at least when I was, getting really into it when I was younger and telling my friends about it, because everybody was into Call of Duty. Call of Duty was where you were at. It's like Call of Duty is a great, hey, you have maybe 30 minutes, an hour, and you want to play a few games with some friends. Boom, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Battlefield is more the, okay, we don't want a super realistic military simulator, but we want something a little more realistic than point and click, like Call of Duty.
Right.
That's why I describe Battlefield. It's the perfect in between. It's this, 2042, it definitely had its downsides. It was not, I personally pre-ordered it because I love Battlefield. I'm always going to love playing them, but I was disappointed. And it's hard to disappoint me because Bad Company 2, best campaign I've ever played from Battlefield, and Battlefield 4 had the best multiplayer.
Right on. That brings us over. We're back again to Nick. What have you been playing?
It's my turn again.
Wake up.
So, playing Edith Finch got me into playing all these walking games, and I did Gone Home a few weeks back. I really liked that one. It was way shorter than I thought it was going to be. I just recently started Firewatch, actually a few days ago, and I thought I was going to compare it to Edith Finch and Gone Home, but it's feeling a lot more like the two Oxenfree games. There's just a lot of walking and talking. I like the idea of having a companion that I'm continuously talking to, as opposed to Edith Finch and Gone Home, where you're basically alone and getting the story through like things in the environment or narration being played. So I'm really liking Firewatch. I'm only on day 2, but I have a feeling stuff's going to get really trippy. I already busted the naked teenagers for shooting fireworks by the lake. You can't do that. It's dry. The country is very dry right now. You can't cause a forest fire. So doing my duty there. I can't wait to beat that because I think I'm really I've always thought I was going to like that game. I just never had the opportunity to sit down and play it. I might actually play it after this show, after this recording. Pepper Grinder is a 2D side scroller that I've been playing a lot of. Been playing a lot of it with my son. Think there's like an old Game Boy game everyone compares this to. I forget what that is, but it reminds me a lot of Donkey Kong Country. Like a lot of the biomes are the same. There's a lot of callbacks to Donkey Kong Country. There's a world that's like nothing but barrels that you shoot yourself between. There's a level called Sticker Bush or something along those lines. That's a nod to Sticker Bush Symphony in Donkey Kong Country 2. The enemies are these little green guys with horns that kind of look like the lizard army from Donkey Kong Country. It's just, and it's kind of creepy too. It's got its creepy elements, its creepy moments in Donkey Kong Country. When you look back, it's also kind of a creepy game. It's a short game, but it has a lot of replayability. So you can collect coins throughout each level. You can do a time attack for each level and get more collectibles for completing those time attacks. You have like a gold, a silver, and a bronze you can achieve. It's just a neat little tightly packaged game that when we sit down to do game of the year at the end of the year and halfway through the year here, I think it's definitely going to be in top 5 just because there's just so much replayability, even for it being a super short game. A lot of the movement is you just grinding into the dirt and like jumping back up into another patch of dirt, or like you have different things that you can control with your grinder, like a machine gun, and you're just mowing down enemies, or there's a giant like steampunk mech. It's just a game that is like, it's my quick, I've got 5 minutes. All right, let's do a quick attack, or let's get coins in this level. And I'm really enjoying it. And I think I'm going to keep playing it for the rest of the year.
It kind of reminds me of, like, just looking at it, I get like Super Meat Boy kind of feeling from it with a little bit of like puzzle instead. It's
funny because Super Meat Boy is one of my all-time favorites. And my son loved playing Super Meat Boy until he found this. And now he wants to play this over, he says Deet Boy, which I miss him saying already. It's the cutest thing. But Pepper Grinder's a little less frustrating than Meat Boy, except for like a few levels. Like you'll get like a silver on it. Like, how am I supposed to hit gold? Like, this seems near impossible. But
it looks fun. I'm going to add that to my wish list just looking at it.
I do love quick little runs like that. And then going back to my roots with this last game, Iron Harvest was a game that I streamed a lot during COVID. A lot of my early YouTube days were Iron Harvest guides or like multiplayer games. I have a multiplayer game that has 14K videos. It's like a 40-minute match of me just going back and forth with a guy called Erect Penis. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on your podcast, but
absolutely.
Here we are.
Give us more details.
So Iron Harvest
please.
is an RTS game. About the other guy.
Very vague.
Oh yes, I only want to know about his penis.
Iron Harvest is a World War I alternate history based off of the pictures, and I'm forgetting the artist's name. I do this every time, but it's called the 1920 plus war. The paintings that have, it's like European countryside, and then around is like a steampunk or a diesel punk mech. And so this is based on that property, the same property that the Scythe board game is based on, actually. And it's RTS. You have 3 factions, 4 with the DLC, and it's basically World War I retold with mechs, and it's a lot of fun.
I'm looking at screenshots. It looks amazing. It looks really.
I remember watching a lot of people play it like StarCraft, which is not the way. You're not supposed to bunch up your unit. It plays more like Company of Heroes, where you're like using cover. It's more about positioning and having the high ground, as opposed to, okay, I need to march my little guys in. Okay, we got to march back. Okay, march back in. Okay, march back. Like I was never a StarCraft guy. I tried during my Iron Harvest days. It didn't work. So I'm going back through the campaign in the stream. Multiplayer is dead right now, so there's not really much I can do there besides play the AI. But it's a fun game. It's fun to go back to it. But I do see why I shelved it, because I was playing the other night during a stream and it crashed. And I was like, I'm not doing any part of that level that just crashed again tonight. So I went and played Pepper Grinder for the rest of the stream. But that's what I've been. That's what I've been up to.
So many games I've never even heard of, man.
I know. There's too many games
out there, man.
There's just so many games.
Somebody should start a podcast where you try to get through them all.
Somebody should.
Not us.
All right. Remember we were supposed to talk about Edith?
We were. Finch? So yeah, why don't we get into the meat of this episode and talk about this week's game, or this episode's game, rather. What Remains of Edith Finch is a first-person exploration video game developed by Giant Sparrow and published by Annapurna Interactive. The game was released in 2017, PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One, for Nintendo Switch in 2019, and iOS in 2021. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S received their copies in 2022. The story follows the 17-year-old Edith Finch, the last surviving member of her family, as she returns to her ancestral home for the first time in 7 years. Re-exploring the house, she uncovers her family's mysterious past and learns about the series of deaths that eventually caused the complete collapse of her family structure. The game is presented as an interconnected anthology and utilizing unique mediums of varying perspectives. The story is told through a series of vignettes, however, the player is made to doubt the authenticity of each story being told. What Remains of Edith Finch received critical acclaim, receiving praise for its immersive storytelling, characters, and presentation, and it's considered an example of video games as an art form. Among other awards and nominations, it won the British Academy Games Award for Best Game in 2017 and the Best Narrative category at both the Game Awards 2017 and the 2018 Game Developers Choice Awards. All right, so we have a couple bullet points we typically go through just to get them out of the way. So single-player exploration game. I also think Walking Simulator is pretty accurate. In 2017, initially, it got released on pretty much everything over the next few years past that. Designer Chris Bell, developer Giant Sparrow, publisher Annapurna Interactive. We've been really enjoying games published from Annapurna. Really, really good line. Stray was on there. Cocoon was on there in from that publisher. Great games. Scored very well, 8.8 on IGN and between 88 and 92 on Metacritic, depending on which platform. It also got Best Narrative of 2017 in its awards. Let's see. Does anybody have any history with Annapurna or these types of games? James and I have done the games I just mentioned for the podcast. Nick and Josh, have you guys played anything from Annapurna, or you have any walking sims that are like near and dear to your heart?
It's always surprising when I go back and look at like Annapurna's games and realize like, oh wait, I've played way more of these games than I thought I did. Yeah. Like Flower, for instance, or Donut County was another big one on mobile back in 2008. Or I'm sorry, 2018. So it just always blows my mind. Like, oh yeah, oh shit, that was an Annapurna joint. More on the walking side, I played. I think one of my all-time favorite walking games. It's probably a recent game that I played called Reveal, which let me double check to make sure that wasn't them this year. No, and so yeah, Reveal is like this horror like walking game. And going into Edith Finch, I had no idea what to expect. Same with Gone Home, and I was like, okay, like you're going into an empty house, like there's going to be some horror elements, right? And it feels like something that's like the normal thing in these walking sims. Like they kind of want to set that expectation, but then I think Gone Home has maybe one jump scare, and it's just a light going out on you and nothing else.
Yeah, saying that Edith Finch maybe wasn't necessarily horror, but it definitely had some dark moments, like through and through.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in that house alone.
At least not with
maybe
Edith.
not at all. Not even with my friends.
I kept thinking I was going to turn a corner and there'd be like a figure or
body,
something, and
a dead baby.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I booted up. So I booted up this game last night just to like refresh on one or two storylines, and I left off the game in Barbara's room. And when you open up the game in Barbara's room, it starts you in front of that giant cutout stand print of Bigfoot. Scared the shit out of me.
Oh man. So what I thought we could do is just real quick. This game is going to be, or excuse me, this discussion rather. I pretty much from this point on, spoilers all the way through. There's no way we can really talk about it without it. So what I thought would be interesting, because there are, I counted them earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, and then the Edith Finch characters. And we get storylines in how they died, like their deaths being recounted. We get bits of their personality through a journal that Edith is writing out. So the whole game, we're walking around this house that she's inherited, and which we'll talk about shortly, but she's going into all these rooms and kind of like narrating very briefly the life of this person, this family member that had then died. The whole family seems to be cursed in a way. Everybody seems to die in not great ways, or just bad times, very young, or through bad circumstances, whatever it may be. But there are a lot to choose from, and we got 4 voices to get through. So there's 2 main things I really want to focus on this episode. Is we can go through and talk about if we have any that are the most memorable to us, or our favorite storylines we got to play through. And because of conversations I've had with my wife about this game, any specific, I don't know if they would be considered Easter eggs, but like Easter eggs or details in the house that we have kind of come to. So, or that we saw and really wanted to speak on, or just call out as like, good game design, whatever it is. So first I want to talk about memorable storylines. So I think these can be talked about separate from one another. So anybody have any that jump out that we really wanted to just talk about?
I've got one that. Yeah. So you don't outright see Sven die. Sven is Edie's husband. I guess you call him the patriarch of the family. And so he dies. A playground he's building crashes in on him, and jokingly everyone's like, "Oh, a dragon killed him." And once I learned that, and then you kind of, in that same corner where you find that out, you see like portion of the house like built by Sven. And the whole time I'm like, oh, well, this fucking shoddy fucking builder has built this house that has like all these different layers. Like, how is this house not caved? I was worried the entire time, like, oh, this is how Edith dies, is this house caves in on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was that just about the house real quick. I don't have the screenshots pulled up, but it was wild. I mean, it went on for days. Like it was. I don't know if it would be what was that old show, like the Robinsons or something. I'm blanking here, but anyway, it was Wild House that had. I mean, just stories
I
about stories.
Like The Kids Next Door. That's it's like a regular house at the bottom. You have the tree growing through it, and then it's just a giant tree house. That's essentially what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it cracks me up because it's very it not resembles, but it definitely her when Edith is following the family tree and writing down the stuff. What you see on the tree is almost exactly how the layout of the house is, where the foundation starts with Odin, and then as it gets you get to everybody else's rooms, Edith's at the top, Milton's and all them. You're almost at the very tippy top, and the house has gotten so ridiculously high up and so cramped. You're just like, how? Mm-hmm. You went up into that bedroom every single day after school? There's no way. There's not even an actual staircase. She had to go onto the landing on the second floor, go up to the attic, which was apparently locked by her mom, and then go up on top of the roof, go around it, and then just spiral up. And it's like, okay, calm down.
And you had to cut through your teenage brother's room. Like, yeah, right. Fat chance, girly.
There was no used tissues anywhere. Come on.
Oh, God.
They were back in a corner. You had to look a little harder. But I will call out that this family was cursed, and the character that you're walking around the house, Edith, her mother ended up sealing off the rooms as people had passed away. I think there was a breaking point, and then she started sealing off the rooms so they can't be accessed. So they were kind of like preserved on how they were left. So
That's one of 5 reasons she was a shitty mom. Just
right. Oh man, and I'm about to get to the first one. Man, so because all these rooms are sealed off, right when you get in, you basically have to find and go through all these a mixture of secret passages or literally going out of a window, scaling this basically the part of the roof and then getting in through another window and then constantly circumventing just the door that you would normally go through. So it ends up being the character gets forced to explore this house in an extremely weird and inefficient way. But it ends up adding to kind of the just the exploration part of the game. So I have one right off the bat. If you'll allow me, Gregory.
my favorite death in the game.
The most musical death of the game.
Oh my God. Yeah. This one, I was back here in the office doing who knows what, probably WoW. And my wife storms in and just stares me down. Is like, what have you made me play? And it's ever since I had kids, anything with kids in any games or any kind of media just hit different, So Gregory, it actually allows you to, in a very colorful, fun, and musical way, you are playing as a 1-year-old, I think a 22-month-old, in a bathtub as your parents are having an argument on the phone and your mother is ignoring you too much, and then you effectively drowned the baby while playing as said baby. And though I say that as serious as that is, it's portrayed because of what it is, I think is the main reason they did this. It's the toys that are in the tub are coming to life. There's like a little toy frog. So then you start controlling the frog to like knock over magnetic letters and knock over other toys back into the bath for you to play with and stuff. It's very colorful and fanciful. I don't know if that's a word. Fantastical and all that. And, at one point the mother comes back in trying to do her parental duties and turns the water off and I can't remember if she drained it or not. Yeah, and drains the bath. So then you have to play through these with as if you were playing with the toys, replugging the bath and then using the frog to turn the water back on. And slowly the tub fills and you are again playing as this effectively drowning baby.
I think it's sorry, go ahead.
It just what? No, please. I'm losing the will to speak.
I think it's fascinating because we see that one from the perspective of Sam, Gregory's father, who we also see his twin. We also see his perspective about how his twin died. Calvin. Calvin is the one of the older children. He falls to his death after swinging off the edge of a poorly placed swing set. And we kind of see in those two how Sam is kind of relating to these deaths or how he perceives them. And both times, I think those are the only 2 times we see Sam perceiving someone's death, and they're both magical. They're both this person didn't die. This person had a magical experience on their way out. And just it kind of both of those kind of fucked with me in the wrong way.
Yeah, the Gregory one, I think is clearly the most I remember that one so vividly through and through. Though I'm poorly describing it, but it's just because of the nature of what it is. I have a toddler that is right about that age,
Same.
And it's it's rough, man. So it's definitely definitely dark. And that's definitely, I think, the darkest one of this whole thing. I mean, the Calvin flying off the cliff. You're playing as Calvin when Edith retells that story, swinging on the swing, and then trying to go higher and higher, and then you go out, and I think you start flying or something. So it adds a little bit of fantasy to it. But he swung too far and fell to his death, which is the reality of what happened. But we get to see it through a more fun playing experience.
Again, Sven with the amazing workmanship, putting the swing right next to the cliffside for his kids to play on.
Family wasn't cursed.
They were just very stupid.
It's really shitty parenting is what
really
this game is all about.
From Sven and Edie. I do think there's a darker death. Gregory's death is very dark. Having a 1.5-year-old myself, like now I check on them in the bath. Now I double check on them in the bath. All frog toys have been removed. Any toys that could start bouncing and turning the water back on, I've taken the long nozzles off. I think the darkest death in the game has to be Barbara's death, just because of what is implied. So Barbara is she's younger than Molly, but Molly died while Barbara was young, so all the ages are kind of skewed all over the place. But Barbara was the young up-and-coming actress in the 60s, I believe. Let me scroll down and see when she died. She died in 1960. So she was the scream queen of the family. She was like on her way up. And her death, is the way we see it, is through a comic book that her mother has allowed to be printed. And it's dark because of the things that first of all, the fact that Edie let that comic book become a thing is just like, what the fuck are you, like, I know you want your daughter to be remembered for this thing that she did, but this is exploitation, like to the nth degree. And then second is, so it's implied that Barbara could have been killed by someone who broke into the house. It's implied she could have been a victim of domestic abuse with her boyfriend. But what I really think happened is that her brother Walter, pulled a prank on her, and she ends up. The game is very intentional about pointing out, like, oh, hey, there's a rollerblade on this step, and you play out the attack because you're playing out how these deaths are perceived by somebody else. And at one point, the killer slips on that rollerblade and falls down the banister. I think that was what happened to Barbara. I think Barbara died in the most uneventful way, the most unflattering way for a starlet like herself. And then the family just, spun this web. They let they let Walter, a lot of dead people. They let Walter disappear under the house. Edie goes on to exploit him by exclaiming to a local tabloid that they have a mole man under the house. Like, it just really, like, Dawn is one of the bad guys of this story, but Edie is just as fucking bad. You have these two characters that are really mystifying these dead people in the family, and they're like these two extremes, and you're kind of finding yourself in the middle. And I came away really hating Edie by the end.
And Edith was kind of the worst of them all because she wrote an entire fucking book and game about it. So,
well, I mean, there is that theory that Edie is the reason they're all dead.
What's the theory?
Yeah, and I was so frustrated towards the end where we didn't get to see that little bit where you were when the tide washed away, like right towards the end, and it cut and didn't give you that story. I was really wanting more of that. Sorry, go ahead.
What was the theory that Edie killed everybody, or what's the?
So it started with when Odin died. She started getting all this publicity, and she's like, "I really like this." So then it's theorized that every time one of the family has died, she used their deaths in some way to basically gain that fame. So with Barbara, she was able to get her death published, and obviously, like Nick said, they had it framed in this set of like, oh, it was possibly domestic abuse from her boyfriend, or who knows what would happen, but we don't know what actually happened. Gotcha. Same thing with like Gregory dying. It's not implied that he purposely drowned. It's because we're reading it from Sam's perspective. It's hinted that she may have drowned Gregory purposely.
I got you. When you said that, for some reason my brain heard you say Edith, and I was like, there was people that died 30, 40 years
Oh,
before
yeah.
Edith was born. How can like how
Edith's
are
seen
you
a
going
time
back?
traveler.
Yeah, but no, I get it. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. Okay, it all makes sense.
James, you got any that stand out to you?
Dude, this is terrible. So you want to just talk about a difference in household? My favorite one was Gregory. It was fun. It was fun, dude. It was fun. I liked the frog toy. My concern initially was, man, this baby is gonna be cold. Like the water's gonna get cold eventually. That was my thought process as a non-parent. And it was fun. I don't know. I enjoyed the
Oh, my
music. It was
God.
beautiful music. It was like, ballet, water ballet with a frog and ducks and everything like that. And then the baby died. And I guess, yeah, that sucks. But it was the funnest one. I also enjoyed Molly's thing. And again, just to reiterate how shallow and stupid I am, I didn't even know that Molly died. Like, you've got it in the show notes here that she died from ingesting toothpaste and holly berries.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I pulled those from the Wikipedia. Molly's was the one that I think confused me the most because I think I'm pretty sure I'm looking at all of them. A lot of them you could really heavily imply their death if it wasn't flat out stated. But Molly's confused me at first because you play as like her, which I think if that wiki was correct, she might have been hallucinating or Edie was like embellishing on stuff, whatever it may be. But she was like she transformed into a cat and was like chasing squirrels or something, and just like kept transforming and then transformed into like
Owl.
like a squid
monster,
monster
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, but she was
Yeah.
still hungry.
Yeah.
So it's progressed from her being a cat to
Yeah,
chasing
yeah.
a bird to being an owl chasing
Right.
rabbits to a shark falling from the top of the hill down to the ocean.
That part is
And-
so random, like falling as the
It
shark.
really
I was like,
is.
is this goat simulator now? I do like that
Right.
when you're still in the room, the game gives you the option to go up to the goldfish, like she's going to eat it, and she's like, "No, I wasn't that hungry."
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one it was the first one you're introduced to. I didn't know what the game was yet, so it was just
It all
confusing.
was so weird to me because Molly was like, in her mind, she was the monster. So I don't know if she was like tripping from from consuming weird foods. I don't know.
Mhm.
But the weirdest line was like at the end of it. She was like, the monster wants to eat me and I can't get out of the bed because we both know I'd be so delicious. Like, it was just strange. I don't know. It was such a weird, all of it was weird. I was like, what the fuck is this game? But that was the second most fun one for me. Killing and eating a bunch of sailors on a ship was fun.
It's been established you love dead kids.
Jesus.
So,
Hats off.
moving on. Let's see. Who haven't we visited? Josh, did you have any that jumped
really,
out at
Barbara's was just. I mean, the fact that they got the IP for the Halloween theme was just perfect. Like, I had that across. I mean, that was like their whole budget. That had to have been their whole budget there alone.
Have you not seen the house, Josh?
Well, I say it because like they did the ripoff of Tales of the Crypt type
Yes,
thing. Like,
they did. Yep.
They did that
Mhm.
ripoff, but they got that song, and it's like, man, they had to have had to pay a nice penny change for that. I mean, it just stuck out to me. That, and I have to admit that Gregory's was one of my favorite ones too. Yes, it's dark, but just something so magical and calming about it. It's very whimsical.
Oh man, there was one other one I wanted to call out that did stand out to me. It was Lewis. He worked in a fish cannery.
Yeah.
Mental health issues. He was finding more joy and solace in a fake fantasy world he was creating in his head. And why I wanted to call that one out is how you ended up playing through it. I loved. It was unbelievably simple mechanics of him going through his unbelievably monotonous day of bringing in, probably frozen or a lot, bringing in the fish, in full untouched fish, having the head chopped off, putting on a conveyor belt, and you were just doing one fluid motion of pulling a fish to the right, waiting a moment, and then pushing it forward, and just doing that repetitive motion over and over again. So it was a very easy joystick movement, making an L shape over and over again.
L
And
for
then
Lewis.
it started pulling in L for Lewis. And then it started giving out like little, like a partial canvas over on the side of him sailing through his like fantasy world he was creating in his head, while still doing the fish mechanic. So then you're basically, again, very simple mechanics. You're basically playing two games at once with a very simple L mechanic and then sailing around with the other joystick through a map that he's coming up with in his head. And as it goes on, that fantasy map world just starts to completely envelop his entire life and the screen. But they kept that motion going, so he still had to work. And I loved how they were able to blend the two together. If you got, like, you could just let it pile up as you might do working and just being mindlessly doing whatever it is your job entails. But there would be a point in the story where, like, oh, you had to go through a gate, and the gate needs a key, but it's a fish. So it's like, oh, you got to slice another fish, right? So it's like reality snapping him back for just a moment before letting him, go off again. And yeah, I loved that. I think that was my favorite to actually play through, because I think it was it was one of the longer stretches, I think.
Definitely.
And I think they put a lot of time into it, which I looked this up just before, and it was reminding me a little bit, but I believe it was actually part of Milton's. I won't go into Milton's story, but Milton was a painter, and I think it's already established that Milton is basically the artist or creator or whatever of one of Annapurna's other games, the Unfinished Swan.
Also on my backlog.
Yeah. So it actually ties into a whole nother game where the mechanic is like painting and stuff, but that the aesthetic of the world that Lewis was creating has a very similar aesthetic. I think, if I'm remembering my screenshots properly, of the Unfinished Swan. So I thought that was a really cool section.
The fascinating thing about Milton and Lewis, I think they both have like game design books in their room. And I want to say Lewis was the math whiz, and then Milton was the art one. And so you kind of pick up on little vibes like that. I think Lewis is the most depressing, just because it's told from the point of his therapist in a letter to Don. Mm-hmm. The further away you get from Edie, the more depressing the stories become. I mean, you got Gregory and Gus, who are like part of the silent generation. So, funny. The silent generation doesn't really have much of a say, especially when you get Don in on that. But then you start to get to our generation, and we start to have to spin our own tales. Like, Edie's not there to spin our tales for us. And Milton, I think Milton's like is the wisest of the family. He decidedly is like, well, this is fucked up. I'm getting out of here. You go through so many like hidden crevices in the house. I kept expecting to find like a little skeleton of Milton. Yeah. So when I didn't, I was very happy. I was like, yes, Milton got the fuck out. Milton's making his own story. And then to see your older brother Lewis kind of doing that in the same way, but him being stuck in the monotonous, like 9 to 5 at the fish factory. He's not happy. He doesn't really connect with anybody. He's bought into the family curse. There was he was going to lose his head eventually. No pun intended there, but
and interesting too, because I believe Milton was the one that disappeared. So it never got confirmed whether he died or not. And when you look at the family tree, that portrait is distinctly different in how it's drawn, more like cartoon character rather than more realistic. So nice little detail there. Any other to call out before we maybe look at some of the world building they did, or I guess the set design they put forth? Because I've got one example in particular that I thought was really fun.
I just want to say, go ahead. You can go.
I was going to say, so there's one Easter egg that I don't think they outright say it, but I just appreciate that, like, it's there for you to be like, haha. It's the fact that Barbara is eaten by her fans, and you can kind of kind of a callback to Night of the Living Dead, the famous line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." I always appreciate it.
There you go. Yeah.
I've got one for you that'll probably make you a what? You can actually spoil the game, the ending at any time.
What?
All you have to do is look down. If you look down, you can see that Edith is pregnant.
Yeah, there was a part in that where I did look down, and my wife watched me play this one, and I was like, "Is she pregnant?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe." And I was like, "Maybe, I don't know. Could be. I don't want to. Could be anything. Could have a bad liver. I don't know."
It got stated really a lot farther on, and I think I looked down, but I maybe didn't look down enough because I saw like the gloves. She had like gloves on or something. But I either didn't look down far enough or it didn't register. To me.
I didn't notice it until I got.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's something that usually you don't. If you look down in most games, you don't see the character's waist or anything. So I felt like it was semi-intentional.
Yeah.
The only reason I noticed is because I think I was like trying to see if there's like anything interesting in the basement, because after you find out that the lock or the ballerina box has actually a key. You have to do a certain thing, and then you can actually get the key out. It's like, okay, there's got to be some type of cool Easter eggs down here because it's the basement. And I just happened to look down, and I was like, "Oh, this is really odd. Usually, if at most you only see like maybe the knees down."
Yeah,
but
I think I noticed it when I was walking up to the house.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention that much at that point.
I'm very careful while going up steps.
She outright says it when you're going into Sam's room, I believe. Like you've just walked through like the makeshift cemetery.
She does say something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I came back for you. I came back for you. I'm 20 weeks pregnant.
I think I heard it when she made some like off comment to herself of like, "Oh, it'll probably be me, a pregnant woman, climbing this house or something." It was when she was climbing on a very precarious section. I think it was after the cemetery when I noticed it. But
I wanted to say with Walter, he's the guy that goes down and like lives in the basement for a really long time.
Since Barbara's death.
Yeah, that was, first of all, that was a very long time. Second of all, I thought it was interesting how he thought there was a monster like outside of the basement, and he said like they eventually like the growls became like comforting to him or something like that. And it was just like you learn very quickly after that it was probably just the train going by.
It was the train,
and the monster did get him. I don't know. I liked that. I really liked that.
The train was running late.
Him with that can opener was driving me nuts. I was like, this man's gonna like open this wrong and it's gonna slice his throat. The whole time I was sitting there waiting for him to just like start spewing.
That would be violent,
the one that got me where I think I audibly like just started laughing was Sam. When he got bucked by the deer and fell off the cliff, that would caught me off guard in such a funny way.
I said get bucked. It was when I vocalized that. Yeah.
I wrote something similar. I said, "Oh dear."
Oh yeah, see.
So I didn't. Okay, so because my wife listens to this religiously, I do have to mention the one that she noticed that I didn't notice, but I really wish I had seen it when I played. So outside of Greg and Gus's room, there are pencil marks of where the parents were keeping track of their height.
Okay.
And at one point, who is it? Gregory's stops, but they keep doing Gus's. I mean, come on.
That's
the attention to detail on that is just fucking amazing. And I believe you could have seen that like right away when you're first exploring the house, long before you know what the hell happened. So I missed it, which frustrates me to no end. But I have since gone back and seen it. But that I wanted to call out for sure.
DCF would have a fucking field day with his family, dude.
Save these kids! Come on, what are you doing? How many more need to fall before you step in?
At least 12.
Man. Okay. In the vein of like level design, however you want to call it with this particular game, it did a really good job of when it wanted to, not forced you, but strongly encouraged you to go in one particular way, right? What I can think of specifically, I believe You're already way up top. You're either like it'd be the painting one. So I think you're leaving Sanjay's area, going up to Lewis and Milton, which were really, really high up, and then you have to backtrack. But right when you leave, I think it's Sanjay's room. The only thing on your screen that you can see is a walkway to another building. But if you would have turned 90 degrees, there's like a walkway up that you only noticed it when you were on your return trip. So I love when games do that, where it's like they're telling you where you need to go, but if you just look around a little bit, you can see things and experience it how you would. But I think it did a really good job of just kind of keeping you on task, I guess. But I thought they were masters at really. I just want to call it level design is all I can really think of for this.
Was Sanjay's room like optional? Because I don't remember it at all.
It's the one. It's either the one right before or the one that has like the legalized marijuana and the psychedelic posters on the wall.
Oh, is that?
I think it was Sanjay's room, but I may be in.
Room.
It was
Sanjay's was more like it had Dawn's laptop there, and it had the family picture.
Yeah, I was getting the names mixed up, but yeah, but it's towards the last couple of people when I noticed it.
Well, maybe I saw the portrait that says Dawn and has Dawn and Sanjay in it, but I don't remember much else about that room that, like, upon Googling it.
I know that when you come out, you go across, you see Milton's paintings and everything, and when then you come back, you go out to the side and like climb up. I think it was like on part of a boat that they strapped to the top of this damn house that you end up climbing through. So it was in that general area. I just may be mixing up the names.
Did they say how Sanjay died?
I don't think so, but I think the game's like very intentional about like outside of Sven, like anyone that is like not naturally on the family tree, the Finch family's kind of like, fuck off, you're not cursed.
Yeah.
Like Kay and Sam get divorced after Gregory's death, and we don't ever really hear from Kay again. Sanjay, maybe Sanjay
I think it was,
died.
he did. He was doing something. I think he was like in the Peace Corps or something, and he died.
Oh, let's see here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I don't have it on here, but the ever trusted Wikipedia. So I'll go through this. This is probably going to be really boring, but in order, I think I have them in the right order. Odin drowned. Molly dies after ingesting fluoridated toothpaste and holly berries. Barbara's murdered during a home invasion. Calvin falls to his death when he swings off of the edge of a cliff. Sven dies during a construction accident. Walter's hit by a train. Gregory drowns in the bathtub. Gus is crushed by a totem pole during a storm. That was a really fun level to play through.
All of it was so fun.
Directing the storm. It had like the flower vibes and how it played, just like moving that around. Let's see. Sam falls to his death after being bucked by a deer. Milton disappeared, so not confirmed as dead. Lewis commits suicide at 21. Edie was found dead at 93 after consuming alcohol and prescription medication. Dawn succumbed to an undisclosed illness, and it's either implied or through stuff I didn't see. Edith died during childbirth to, I think, Christopher is his name. So
Sanjay did,
but no,
I was saying Sanjay did die.
Yes.
An earthquake struck the relief site he was working at.
And there it is.
Gotcha.
But the house doesn't outright, like, it doesn't. You have to like go out of your way to find it. No one's outright saying anything. There's no room for Sanjay, like proper.
He wasn't a proper Finch, okay? So,
Edie,
man. What a game. Let's see here.
I just want to say I enjoyed the credits of the game. Like at the very end where it looked like it was like pictures from probably the producers or creators of the game, like just pictures from their childhood. It really brought back like a lot of memories of like my childhood, you know, just hanging out and like all the stuff with my family or my friends. Just, I don't know. It was very nostalgic because you don't see those pictures very often of anybody, you know what I mean? Like you have to look for them now. So I don't know. I just thought I really enjoyed the credits. I liked when the game was over.
Well, let's see. Any final thoughts on what remains of Edith Finch?
I've got two. looking at the fine list you've procured from Wikipedia, from Molly's death to Gus's death, you can all trace those back to Sven's shoddy workmanship. I just want to point that out. So the family's not cursed. Sven just sucks at building shit. The other thing I want to point out, and I might have hinted at it earlier, was just the foundation of the family. So like a lot of the early rooms you're going into are on the ground level. They're the folks born in the 40s. They're born very early on. I guess you'd call them the baby boomers. Very, very rich bedrooms, strong foundation. And then you get up into the silent generation. None of them you really hear from. I mean, you hear from Don a little bit about Gus and his death. And they're a little more tight knit, but a little less flavor about each one. And then it's depressing because you get up into these wobbly fucking spaces where you and your brothers lived, and it's very fucking depressing because it's like, oh shit, they had all these things down below, and now we're way up here where we're the millennials, we're the Gen Z folk, we've got a lot less to go off of, and we're kind of built from this rickety, strong foundation, but made rickety because we built upon that.
Right. Yeah.
And that was something that as soon as I entered that boathouse, I was like, this is really fucked up. This kid lives in a boat above the house.
Well, I mean, you got a question like, okay, either a storm came through and picked up that, I would assume it's the same one that Gus died from. That storm somehow brought that boat and threw it up there. Or they hired a cheap ass contractor. It's like, oh yeah, I could give you a case of beer and a couple $100. I can throw that bad boy up there, no problem.
It was Sven's brother Glenn.
We'll put a boat up here. The grandkids will fucking love it. We'll use pieces of the totem pole that crushed Gus to build it.
Jesus, no wonder why he killed himself. God.
Yeah, it's
It's
a depressing game when you start to look at the way the world is right now.
I had a good time. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a good brisk summer read.
Yeah. That's one thing I want to say. It's a relatively short game. I think I played 2.5 hours. It took about the same for my wife. You can play it easily in one sitting, and it gives you a lot of information in a short amount of time, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. I've played some games where they try to give you so much in such a little time, and it feels confusing and discombobulated. I understand why people love the series, and I'm trying to see the good in it. I had that problem with like Metal Gear Solid. There was a lot of information that they were kind of going off of prior knowledge from other games or lore in the game. It was just a lot. Yeah, that's a good one. But it was just a lot of info in a short amount of time.
Oh my god!
And this one gave you, I feel like, more info on more characters in a fraction of the time, but it didn't feel overwhelming at all. I got to applaud them on that.
This was a story that would have been extremely boring if you read it like from front to back, just a book. It would have been It would have been shit, but it worked well as a game because of the interaction of it. Like every bit of it played out well because it had a big visual part to it, I guess, as well as the interaction. But just read a synopsis of the game and you won't get the picture of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll take you about 2 minutes.
It'll take you 2 minutes, and then you'll be like, why this part about the Gregory, But if you just get to experience it, if you can just take in the music for a moment, you will come to enjoy it.
The water and the music will take you.
Yes.
It'll
drown you in emotion.
Well, I think that's going to do it for the conversation, gentlemen. Fantastic. That was great.
Guys, thank you for having us.
Yes.
This one was in my Steam library for the better part of like 2 years probably. And so, I mean, when you guys said, let's play this, I was ready to jump at it. And I mean, I would have played anything to hang out with you guys for a little bit, but
it was on my list. It was just lower priority, but it was on there. I've been wanting to get to it. I'm glad we were able to.
I had a good friend of mine recommend it like 2 weeks prior to this too, which was coincidental.
Amazing.
It's
so good.
It all lined up, and we're not cursed, and we're not all going to die in very fatal, avoidable ways.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, can you run a bath for me real quick?
I'm gonna go swing on my swing set that's just cliff adjacent. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Definitely tomorrow. Meet me at the bottom of the hill.
Meet me down there.
All right. So hey, let's get some plugs. Where can people find you guys?
Yeah, so you can find me, Nick, and Josh over there. I'm pointing at them. This is audio, so my pointing is really working right now. You can find us at smashinggametime.com. Our episodes go up every Wednesday. Josh and I also write for Game Chronicles. We do reviews over there. And then myself, I can also be found over at harddrive.net, the video game satire site. I do reviews and whatnot. I'm sorry, I do satire pieces and I do interviews. I have an interview with Heather Ann Campbell from Rick and Morty going up here. It'll be up by the time you hear this, so go listen to it. Really good conversation about physical media. And then, the usual, I'm on Twitter at that Kaufman. I'm on Twitch and YouTube at Nick Fat Knight. Josh, you are everywhere at I'm Josh Saying, right?
Anywhere and everywhere at I'm Josh Saying.
Hate that he has that down to a science.
You can thank your following for that, Nick. I love it. It's my new favorite name.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a treat to have you. Holy smokes, that is going to do it for us. What an awesome set of guests. I want to just plug the Smashing Game Time one more time. Nick and Josh, thanks again for coming on. It was amazing having you guys on the show. Really appreciate it. That's going to do it for us here for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be doing a top 30 list of Xbox 360 games. We've got another guest for that. It's a fun time. It was recorded a few months ago, but it's still a fun time. Stay tuned for that one. We will see you all next episode.